It's waiver day. The Patriots find some much-needed offensive line help. Plus, Jerod Mayo is yet to name a starting quarterback, but I think we know who based on his comments. We'll share that and more here on Patscast. Welcome to Patscast. I'm Brad Whitaker. You need a VPN? Visit expressvpn.com/Patscast to get 3 months off of a 12-month annual plan. Again, that's expressvpn.com/Patscast. And today was a very big day for the New England Patriots. Most people don't really care much about the waiver wire and how all of that works. But when you're the third worst team in the NFL the year before, the waiver wire becomes extremely important. And the Patriots found themselves ranked number 3rd in the waiver wire, which gives them third dibs on the best players available. And they went to work, adding 2 offensive linemen and then 2 additional players that will help the defense. But really, all we're focused on right now is the offensive line because it has been atrocious, particularly at the tackle position. False starts, illegal formations, bad snaps. There's a lot they need to work on in the next couple of weeks before the Patriots open the season against the Cincinnati Bengals. And that starts with Zachary Thomas, who was claimed from the Los Angeles Rams. He's 26 years old, 6'5", 300 pounds. He's appeared in 3 games beyond the preseason since entering the league out of San Diego State. He was drafted in the 6th round of the 2022 NFL Draft by the Chicago Bears, where he began his rookie season on the practice squad. And this is a guy who can play both tackle and guard, obviously positions that the Patriots need a lot of depth and potentially finding a starter at. And that's what Zachary Thomas can do. Very versatile guy, has above average athleticism for an offensive lineman with quick feet and good mobility. Does very well in terms of pass protection where he can mirror defenders, react to edge rushers. Very athletic and is effective in terms of being pulled from plays and reaching the second level of the run game. He has solid technique, and from everything I've read, good awareness, an understanding of defensive schemes, and a high football IQ. And this is the kind of choice for the Patriots where they can get somebody that's going to better fit that West Coast wide zone scheme that Alex Van Pelt is attempting to implement. The key word there being attempting. And it hasn't worked out well because the Patriots have a bunch of offensive linemen that are used to running power run gap schemes. So that's why when we saw Matt Patricia try it 2 years ago, and that's why when we've seen Alex Van Pelt try it this year, the Patriots have really struggled to get that wide zone scheme going on the ground, and they've really struggled running the football. I don't care what they say about how the run game has looked great. They have good running backs, but those running backs can't do much of anything if they can't find wide open gaps to run the ball upfield. And that's hopefully what Zachary Thomas will bring to the table. But I think the guy who may be even more exciting just because of what he can bring to the tackle position, who was acquired via waivers today, is Deantre Jacobs. He's 25 years old. He's arriving via the Denver Broncos after signing with them as an undrafted free agent last year. Much bigger body than Zachary Thomas. He's 6'6", 315 pounds. Played college at both Grambling State and South Florida. He was retained on a futures contract in January following a rookie year spent on the practice squad. And this is a guy that brings a lot of raw power to the offensive line. He can drive defenders off the ball in the run game. His strength gives him the ability to overpower defensive linemen. And he's very effective, especially in short yardage situations, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, where you need to get a first down and you have that urgency there. He's kind of the prototypical size of an NFL offensive lineman, long arms, a wide frame. His length keeps defenders at bay in pass protection. And because he has decent size, it makes it difficult for him to move off of his spot. Strong anchor against bull rushers. And both of these guys are still young. They're still developing. I think Deantre Jacobs perhaps has a higher ceiling, and that has to do just with his combination of physical traits. Coaches tend to see him as a a player who can grow into a consistent and dominant force with the right development out there, especially with his aggressive and physical style of play. And he may see a lot of playing time, maybe even a potential starter at the tackle spot from everything that we've seen. Doesn't seem to be working out very well with Chuks Okorafor at the left tackle spot or the right tackle spot. We don't know about Vidarian Lowe's situation, but I don't think any Patriots fans are comfortable with Vidarian Lowe being part of that starting unit, even if he's healthy, although I might give him the nod over Chuks Okorafor at this point, based on his performance this past Sunday. And then, of course, you have rookie Caden Wallace, who played right tackle at Penn State, that the Pats are trying to move him over to left tackle. He keeps alternating between both positions, but hasn't had a ton of first-team reps. He's probably in that conversation to be the starting left tackle or the starting right tackle, but Deantre Jacobs and Zachary Thomas may have something to say about that. So it's going to be another week and a half of the Patriots experimenting in practice with different offensive line combinations, figuring out what works, whether that's having Mike Onwenu at right tackle, Mike Onwenu at right guard. I think we know pretty well that David Andrews is going to be at center. I think Sidy Sow is going to be out there at left guard. I know he had an ankle injury, but at least according to Jerod Mayo today, doesn't look to be a major injury, so hopefully he'll be back out there very soon. And this O-line needs help, and it's a 2 to 3 year rebuild with this O-line, and the Patriots were really desperate, and that's why they grabbed these two guys, one who can play tackle effectively and another who can play both tackle and guard. They also added, as I said, a couple defensive players via waivers. Curtis Jacobs, who's 22 years old, was waived by the Kansas City Chiefs. He was undrafted this year. 6'1", 241-pound linebacker. Played for the DC Defenders in the UFL. Also started 36 games while at Penn State, where he had 170 tackles and 9.5 sacks. And then there's, I don't have his first name in front of me right now, unfortunately, but Johnson is his last name, 26 years old, entered the league with the Indianapolis Colts in the 5th round of the 2022 draft. Bigger guy, about 300 pounds, 6'4", came out of Missouri State, where he had 28 appearances throughout his career, registered 18 tackles to go with 1 sack and 1 fumble recovery across 391 defensive snaps in college. Not sure those two are going to play a lot, just because the Patriots have a pretty good defense. They have a lot of depth at every single unit out there, but they had to make room to put these guys on the active roster. So the Patriots had to make some cuts in addition to the cuts that they made yesterday. And this was a really surprising one. They cut wide receiver Jalen Reagor, who I thought would make the team just because of what he can bring to the special teams alone. But he also had a pretty good camp and a pretty good preseason at the wide receiver spot, which I thought would earn him some reps in the regular season. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. Jalen Reagor is officially off of the roster, and that means they prioritize guys like Kayshon Boutte over him long term, and Reagor is no longer there. Same thing with cornerback Isaiah Bolden, who was a bit of a specialist, was kind of low on the depth chart at the defensive back role. They also cut defensive tackle Tristan Hill and offensive lineman Michael Jordan, who was kind of a fill-in just in case any of the guards went down out there. It wasn't too impressive throughout camp. Wasn't terrible, but I think at least Bolden, Hill, and Jordan, you understand why the Patriots decided to cut them and make room for these 4 players. I think Jalen Reagor is a questionable decision. That said, a lot of players at the wide receiver spot. Most NFL teams carry about 6 receivers. The Patriots were carrying 7. So cutting Reagor puts them back in the norm with some of the other NFL teams. Now, Patriots did make a number of cuts yesterday, obviously, which meant some of those players came back today, signing with the practice squad. That starts with running back Kevin Harris, and this was really great to see. I really thought somebody might claim him off of waivers, but that didn't happen, meaning he's back on the practice squad. And, JaMycal Hasty was the guy who had the advantage, made the 53-man roster. I really thought that might be Kevin Harris. Both had a great camp and a great preseason. Kevin Harris had a big touchdown on that sideline throw from Drake May Sunday night. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets put back on the active roster very early in the season and we see him back out there. Same with running back Terrell Jennings, who was also an impactful player throughout camp and throughout the preseason. He's signed with the practice squad. Offensive lineman Liam Fornadell, who getting a lot of reps at the center position, was having a very strong camp up until the most recent 2 preseason games where he really struggled out there. Good to see him back on the practice squad, but I'm not really surprised that no team claimed him off of waivers. Wide receiver Matt Landers, this is a guy the Patriots signed, I believe, just last week. Spent some time with a couple teams in the UFL, including the team I root for, the San Antonio Brahmas. He is a very tall, physical wide receiver out there. Looked pretty good in the lone preseason game that we saw him play. I think that was enough to earn him a spot on the practice squad. Good to have him there. Adds a little bit more depth to the wide receiver role, especially if some of the guys that they have there go down. Some of the other signings to the practice squad, defensive end Jotham Russell, safety A.J. Thomas, and tight end Mitchell Wilcox is back. Not really sure why. He really struggled all of training camp, really struggled in the preseason games, had a few drops. But after Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, and Jaheim Bell, there's a massive drop-off at tight end, and that next guy was seemingly Mitchell Wilcox, so I would assume that's the reason why he was signed to the practice squad. As we mentioned on yesterday's podcast, Bailey Zappy, we thought he might come back to the Patriots practice squad. He actually signed a contract with the Kansas City Chiefs to be part of their practice squad, which really makes sense because Bailey Zappy, let's be honest, is a carbon copy of Patrick Mahomes. I'm obviously kidding there, but I think it'll be a really good opportunity for him to play with an elite NFL team that he hasn't really had experience with over the last couple of seasons. Kansas City, I'm sure he'll be part of, the scout teams and helping teams prepare that way. And he'll have the opportunity to learn from Patrick Mahomes and just kind of on the outside and further his game that way. And I think Bailey Zappy may have a bright future in this league just as a backup, and going to a team like Kansas City is going to definitely help him get there. I think we forget that Bailey Zappy is one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time. He basically started for 4 seasons and put up all sorts of incredible record-breaking numbers. Very consistent guy who made the correct reads and was able to gather yards on the ground and in the air throughout college. Obviously, that was a bit limited when he got to the Patriots, but I think this will give him a great opportunity to further his career, at the very least as a backup. I don't expect him to be a starter in the NFL anytime soon, but Bailey Zappy on the Kansas City practice squad is a much better opportunity than if he came back to New England and continued to just kind of get reps here and there. So really happy for Bailey Zappy there, and I think this will be a good experience for him, and hopefully make his career last a little bit longer in the NFL. But back to the QB competition that we all care about. Is it going to be Drake May? Is it going to be Jacoby Brissett? Jerod Mayo admitted earlier this week that Drake May outperformed Jacoby Brissett in the preseason and in training camp, but he was also factoring in the totality of camp and rookie mini camp and OTAs and all of that. And of course, there's the understanding that the Patriots have a pretty bad offensive line right now and the concerns with putting a rookie quarterback out there. I've certainly made the argument that I think Drake May, if you're actually trying to win some football games this year, puts the team in the best position to win and can alleviate some of the concerns of that offensive line with his mobility and all the things that Drake May, the raw traits that he brings to the table that a pocket passer veteran like Jacoby Brissett does not. But Jerod Mayo hasn't announced a starting quarterback yet. He said that today, but he did kind of offer a clue, which I think is a bit of a giveaway. He said in his press conference today, quote, "I would say one thing. I think it's important to remember what's good for the team today may not be good for the team weeks down the line. So I think the challenge is you want to win every single game now, but you're trying to build something special here in New England." that seems to suggest that Jacoby Brissett is going to be the starter, because you wouldn't say what's good for the team right now may not be good for the team weeks down the line. If I had to guess, that means Drake May is probably coming in somewhere to the early middle portion of the season, taking over for Jacoby Brissett, and they're going to put him out behind that offensive line as cannon fodder as the team tries to figure out what's going on there. Not a fan of this decision if that is indeed what's going to happen. It sounds like Jerod Mayo will be making the official announcement sometime tomorrow. I guess they've already decided, and he's going to tell the players tomorrow, and then afterwards we'll probably get an indication in the media who the starting quarterback is, but I'm about 99% sure, based off of this quote alone, that it's going to be Jacoby Brissett. And, you know, I think this just comes to show that all the talk about this being a real quarterback competition was nothing but a big lie, because clearly in their actions it was not. Jacoby Brissett has gotten 95% plus of the first team reps throughout training camp. Drake May, really most of his first team reps have come in the preseason games after Jacoby Brissett left, and they left the first team offensive line out there. So their actions have not followed their words, and it looks like the concerns about the offensive line are enough to put Jacoby Brissett out there week one, even if they feel like Drake May puts them in the best position to win. So they were not telling the truth throughout all of training camp, but I don't think that's a big surprise. Jerod Mayo in his press conference today, though, reiterated a few times that this was his decision. This was not, even though they're collaborating, this was not necessarily Elliott Wolf's or Alex Van Pelt's or T.C. McCartney or Ben McAdoo or anyone in the offensive staff's decision. This is his decision alone. That's different from what we've heard over the last few weeks, where he's kind of wavered back and forth about whether or not it's his decision or it's some of the other guys or it's a collaborative process. May clarify today that it's ultimately his decision. Do I think that's true? No, I don't think that's true at all. I think Elliott Wolf is probably the one that's deciding alongside his buddy Alex Van Pelt. And Jerod Mayo, I don't think, assuming he's going with Jacoby Brissett, I don't think that's what he wants to do. I think as a rookie head coach, he wants to put out the best quarterback and make a good impression right off the bat, but he's probably being overruled by Wolf and Alex Van Pelt. But at least according to what he's saying to the media, it's his decision. So we'll find out more tomorrow. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is Drake May, but as of right now, I'm about 99% sure it's going to be Jacoby Brissett week one against the Cincinnati Bengals. But we'll be here to cover that news when it breaks here at Pat's Cast. If you like this video, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell on YouTube, or subscribe if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and we'll see you the rest of the week.
Drake May stands looking down the line, Pat's Cast screaming hard, got decisions on my mind. Rookie on the rise, veterans got the pride, fans gonna riot if they don't choose right. Drake May, fresh spark, full of fire in his eyes. Jacoby, steady heartbeat, no surprise. Pat's Cast fans divided, can't seem to decide. Wolf, Mayo, Van Pelt, show us where you reside. Pat's Cast whispers through the night. Pat's Cast pressure, keeping coaches tight. Young gun or veteran who will lead us right. Pat's Cast out loud, who's our guiding light? Saw the game replay, May's got a rocket arm. Will Jacoby's experience keep us from harm? Locker room chatter boiling like a storm. Football ain't so easy, making choices can be warm. Pat's Cast voices roaring on the air. Every fan a critic, every fan a player. Clouding up the clear skies, bringing in the flare. Quarterback conundrum, our eternal prayer. Pat's Cast whispers through the night. Pat's Cast pressure, keeping coaches tight. Young gun or veteran who will lead us right. Pat's Cast out loud, who's our guiding light? who's our guiding light.